Okay, one of the first keys you should know about is the key of C. No sharps, no flats. The easiest one to determine. So you'll know you're in the key of C because there's just nothing written there. So there's not really anything to tell you you're in the key of C, except, let me tell you this, not a lot of people know this. Like if you're in the key with one sharp, that happens to be G. We'll talk about that in a second. And you want to go back to the key of C. We'll take a look. It actually drew a natural over where that sharp was before. So anytime you see naturals, you're back to the key of C. So you do that like in the middle of the song. If you change key, or if you start in a different key that's not the key of C, that's one place you would see it as well. So let's get rid of that. Actually, let me change back here. Okay, everything's still working great. Okay, so we have the key with one sharp here. So you may be saying, like, okay, maybe just assuming that whoever's watching this doesn't know how to figure out all the sharps yet, or the key signatures. So what you do is, the confusing thing is that what notes that are sharped is different than what the actual key name is. So you could have the key of A, but A doesn't have any A sharps. It actually has an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. So it's just important before we start to know that the name of the scale or the name of the key is often, in fact, almost always different than the flats that you have. Although the key of A flat will have an A flat in it, as you will see. But anyway, we have this key with one sharp. So if you're like, all right, well, what sharps do we have? It's really kind of hard to see. Maybe you're new at determining what key signatures are all about. What you do is you pretend like there's a note drawn wherever that sharp was. So you see how there's a line going directly through that sharp? So pretend like you have a note where that top line is going directly through it, just like the sharp. What note is that? Well, that's F sharp, right? So you find, F sharp on the piano. Let me put this up here. That's what that's for. So you find F sharp on the piano. I guess I can turn this back on. F sharp on the piano, and then that's what sharp you have throughout the whole song. But it's not the name of the key you're in. It's important to know what the name of the key you're in, because you have to know what the starting note and ending note of your key or your scale is to really know, how to get the right sound. Because if you play a scale, and even if you have an F sharp in it, if you start it in the wrong place, it won't sound correct. So you have to know what the key name is, because that's your starting note in your scale. So what you do is you go to your F sharp, and then you just go up a half step. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So you go to the sharp, and you go up a half step. Now there's more to this explanation, as you'll see in a second. So we have an F sharp, right? But we're really in the key of G. And then keep in mind that the F is sharped no matter what line or space that it falls under. So if you have like an F down here, even though that sharp's written up there, that will affect that F as well. Same goes with the bass clef in the Fs that are written there as well, except that one is a G. There we go. So it affects all the Fs. Let me check for questions. Yeah, it is pretty normal for songs to change key in the middle. Yes, very. Of course, with more advanced songs, you'll see that more often, like Beethoven sonatas or something like that. Or even modern music, you can see a change key quite often. Okay, now we're gonna figure out what happens. Oh, come on now. Okay. Now what happens if we have two sharps? You may have seen in the menu it said D major. So how do we figure that out? Well, we have two sharps, right? I'll give you a hint that neither of them are D. You actually have an F, the same one we had before, and then you add on one more sharp, which is actually C sharp. So if you can see that second sharp is lower, especially in the treble clef. You see that it's over the third space in the treble clef. That's C. So you have an F sharp from before, adding a C sharp. So every time you add a sharp, you have all the sharps you had before, plus a new one. That's something to remember. All right, so what you do this time is, it's like, well, last time we went to the F sharp, right, and we went up a half step. Well, now what do we do? Well, what you do is, now that we have more than one sharp, you go to the sharp all the way to the right, the last sharp, which is C sharp, right? We only have two. You play that C sharp, and from there you go up a half step. So you have to go to the last sharp, and then you go up a half step, and that gives you the answer that D is actually the key with 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. And you always check, play the scale if it sounds like the major scale. Or if you're familiar with your major scale already, you'll know it's correct. So, Shesk, it looks like it's just you and me tonight, which doesn't surprise me. Even though it's 8 o'clock, we'll see if more people show up. But on with the explanation. So, we're in the key of D, 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Now, what happens if I add another sharp? And let's see here. What if I have 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp? Well, you may have seen from the menu that that's the key of A, but how do we figure that out? We go to the sharp all the way to the right this time. It's actually, as you can see, it's kind of hard to tell in treble clef because it's above the staff. But if you look at bass clef, it's over that top space, as we know, is G. So our last sharp's a G sharp, so you play G sharp. Any of them will do. You go up a half step, and then you know the answer is we're in the key of A. Key of A has those 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Let's do 1 or 2 more, at least 1 more. Let's change it again. So it will let me. Come on now. To 4 sharps. So we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp now. So you go to the last sharp, the one all the way to the right, you play D sharp. You go up a half step, and that gives you the answer. That gives you E. So the key of E will have 4 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. All right, Chesk, I appreciate the offer, and I will take you up on it. But I'll tell you what, let me do just like 1 or 2 more key signatures with the sharps, just so I have like a complete lesson to post up on the channel later. All right, so we're going to do one last example for tonight, since we're going to call it an early night. So as you can see from the menu, it said B major, but how do we figure that out? Remember, there's 2 things. Well, really, 2 things. The first thing is you go to the very last sharp all the way to the right. So here it is. There it is. What sharp is that? Well, it's going to be the second space on treble clef, which actually is the lower space on bass clef. Both of those are the same. I mean, now they're an octave apart, but they're both A sharp. They're actually 2 octaves apart, if you want to get technical. So you play A sharp, and then you go up a half step, and you get B, which happens to be the key that we're in. So this has been a video about how to figure out what key you're in if you're given sharps, and basically how to count up and down from there. So this has been Tim from Lessons on the Web. Remember that you can help Lessons on the Web in very small ways and very big ways. Some of the ways that you can help for absolutely free is just to share these videos with your friends and your family. Give the video a thumbs up if you learned something. And if you want to help in a bigger way, of course, you can join my Lessons on the Web Academy, where not only will I benefit, but you will benefit as well with all the courses that are available there. So head over to lessonsontheweb.com to learn more. This has been Tim from Lessons on the Web, and I'll see everybody for the next video, live stream, or whatever's coming out. So thank you very much, and I'll see you around. Thank you. All right. So, Shesk, let's take a look. You are still the only one, so I just wanted to conclude the lesson there just for the video so I can piece it together. So do you have any quick questions before we go? Thanks for coming out. You're a real trooper for being like the only one. I should have known not to have a live stream tonight, but hey, I just wanted to check to see how everybody was doing, and it's wonderful. Let's see. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the kind words as always, Shesk. Hopefully, I can get that right. I will probably end up calling you the real next time, or forgetting, and then asking you again. But that's all right. You're very welcome, and more great videos on the way. And yeah, any small, like, share, anything will be super helpful. But of course, you don't have to. If you keep watching, that's good enough. So thanks. Have a great night. Have a happy Easter. And I'll see you. I believe the next one is planned for Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I think my thing flickered again. But anyway, the webcam. But anyway, have a great night, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Happy Easter. Thank you.